The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get.
He missed the pit complete. That is crazy
Side by
stuff.
side, Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eklund. The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get.
He missed the. Welcome, folks, once again to the GreenValleyLake.com MX-5 Will Talk, where we are so used to seeing some of the very best MX-5 drivers in action. Today, we are broadcasting round number 11 of season number 7, and we are live from Lime Rock Park in Lakeville, Connecticut, in the US of A. Hi, I'm Richard, and with me in the booth, of course, we have Brian Corwin and Bill Zahn. Hi, Brian.
How you doing, Richard?
I'm doing very well, my friend. Hi, Bill.
Good day, mate.
And of course, our director of all the action is none other than Giancarlo Lenzi. Well, Brian, we have come all the way from Belgium last week. We are back in the USA to one of the absolute shortest tracks on iRacing. Tell us a little bit about it.
Sure thing. Well, the track first opened in 1957. It's a very short track with only 1.54 miles to its length. For those that do kilometers, it's 2.478 kilometers, so it's very, very short. It has 8 turns, and it looks very deceptive. There's a few banks and off-camber spots, but for the most part, it's pretty straightforward track. Not a lot of memorization really needed, but it is a track that you need to practice. It does have elevation changes, and it's very tricky for those that kind of come into this kind of race very lazily. As far as the pit road goes, it has an awkward pit entry, but Richard, I think we'll have a good race here today.
Well, if last year or last season is anything to go by, it's going to be a cracker. There's no doubt about it. Well, we do have a lap guide so that the viewers can actually see what a lap looks like around here. So we'll ask our director to play the lap guide for us. Giancarlo?
All right, we're going to take a lap around Lime Rock Park Chicane with Ayrton Ellis in the MX-5 Cup. Coming up to turn 1, you're going to brake just after that 2 marker there and aim for the inside curb, and then let it drift a little bit wide, and then bring it back in for 2 because it's a double apexer. Clip that curb just barely again, get back on the gas and get as far right as you can for the only left-hander on the course. And when you exit this turn, you want to be as far left as possible, because on this right-hand kink you want to be flat to the floor, which leads you onto the no-name straight, which, as you can see, is not perfectly straight, but that's going to lead to the uphill, which with the chicane is going to be a curved braking zone. And you're going to clip these curves coming through the chicane there, carry as much speed as you can. And then coming up to 6, it's going to be flat out through here, but it's a little sketchy. You got to hit it just right. You can see Ayrton gets a little bit of a grass. And then downhill into 7, you want to get the right tires into that groove so that you can get through with just a barely bit of a lift. And that dumps you onto the front straightaway, where hopefully you got a good exit and can make a pass attempt into 1.
Welcome back to the GreenValleyLake.com MX-5 World Tour. Well, you've seen a lap around this place. It is a very short track, as we've mentioned, and it's going to be a great race, I'm pretty sure. But let's talk about the championship at the moment. Bill, still, Jan Freitas has managed to hang on. 10 rounds gone. Time seems to be running out for the rest of the guys to catch up.
Yeah, he looks good. He has an 80-point lead on Mora and to second, but one mistake and bring Goodruin back into the hunt. So you have Freitas and Mora running 1-2 in the standings, and they're going to be starting on the 3rd row of the race today because we invert based on point standings, the quick 6. So they're going to start in the 3rd row. In the 2nd row, we have the next 2 guys in the standings, which is Richard Eklund and Jan Koemans. They're going to be starting in the second row now. Not here today is Timo Tuliainen. That's unusual. He's seen every race. In fact, he was tied for first in the Ironman standing, having completed every lap this season. He missed the race today. So starting on the pole is going to be Szabo, and right next to him are Yaman, and they're sitting. Yaman's in 5th, and Szabo is in 7th place. So kind of the guys who are chasing Freitas are ahead of Freitas. So it's going to be pretty interesting, the early laps of the race, to see where Freitas settles down. Now, a couple other guys to keep an eye on today. Jake Tucker is going to start in 7th place, and Tom Rathie on the outside in 8th. That's good spots for them. Trevor Mack and Benjamin Lanowit are going to start in the 5th row, and Simon Van Doon and Mihai Masison are going to start in the 6th row. So we have a pretty good field. We have 13 out of the top 15 drivers here today, and I think it's all going to come down to the pit stops. We'll talk more about that when the race gets going. Back to you, Rich.
Thank you, Bill. Yep, a very good rundown there. I'm just looking at so Yaman's going to start up front again. This guy, Amjad Yaman, is having an absolutely golden period at the moment. He's doing very well right here in the MX-5 World Tour, and I can tell you that our sister series, which is the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series, he actually has won both rounds so far in that series. So certainly he's having a really good period of time in his racing, and good to see. But I guess, Brian, we need to talk a little bit about what is going to be required to win this race. So I'll give over to you to give us the keys to the race. Brought to you, of course, by Cozy Cabins in Green Valley Lake.
Well, the track today is very narrow, much like Zolder in some of those spots last week where we saw the intense race that happened there. The same kind of mindset here. There's not a lot of time and room to go too wide and try and battle out the race side by side. So with that being said, there's a few key spots on the track that you really need to be careful and keep people behind you. The first being turns 1 and 2. It's very wide, and there's multiple lines you can take through those set of corners where people can either force someone out wide or maybe outbrake you going into the initial turn-in and get a position there. Also, the chicane at the top of the hill on the backside of the track, I believe around turns 5 and 6, that's a very tricky spot, and if you get the weight shifted the wrong way or coming in the wrong angle, you are going to be hurting because the wall there is very unforgiving. So it's important that you manage your weight and your speed and make sure you're going single file through some of these trickier parts of the track, or you're going to be in a world of hurt today. Back to you, Richard.
Thank you, Brian. And that was the keys to the race, brought to you by Cozy Cabins in Green Valley Lake. Please visit their website at cozycabinsgreenvalleylake.com. Well, folks, now it seems to me that we still have a bit of time, about 5 minutes or so before the actual warm-up finishes. So we are, in fact, a little bit ahead of time at this point, which is great. So we can talk a little bit more about what's going on. So, Bill, talk to us a little bit more about the guys further down in the championships. Who's been coming up and who's been going backwards?
Well, what's interesting today is two of our drivers that we see in the top 10, Brad Wooden and Sam McAleer, are going to start way down the pack. In fact, they had horrible qualifying times. Now, Brad is an Australian. It's early morning for him, so he sneaks into these races right at the very end. And Sam McAleer just snuck into the very end and didn't have a very good qualifying spot. So they're starting well down the list, and Sam has a little bit of a penalty situation going on there. He's got to be careful working his way through the track. While we have time, let me take a second. I was going to talk about pit stops, but during the race it's kind of hard to get in, so we have a little time. I'll fill here with this. And before I begin, I want to apologize to our experienced viewers. The Global Sim Racing Channel, we're going to try to broaden our audience a little bit, and so it's important we address both, the veteran viewer and the novice viewer. And so when I talk about pit stops, what we have to watch out for, if you were buying the street version of an MX-5, the Miata, it has a 12.7 gallon fuel tank. So what the series does, what we effectively do, is block off about 9 gallons of that tank, forcing the drivers to race with a tiny little 3.6 gallon fuel cell. Now, that's not enough to complete the whole race distance. Now, a driver's heavy foot or being in the draft, that may change his fuel mileage, but everyone is going to need just over a gallon more fuel to finish the race. So they're going to have to come in and top off sometime. Now, after looking at last season's race, Yuroshilenko was able to go about 29 laps on a tank of fuel. So that's going to mean our pit window is going to be somewhere between lap 14 and lap 29 of the 43 laps here today. Now, when it comes to strategy, looking at the qualifying times, we have Koemans is going to be really fast and Eklund are going to be really fast. So what they might want to do if they're being held up by Szabo or Yaman, they might want to dash into the pits early, get a top off, and then run some hot laps. And now the leaders are going to watch that, so they're going to say, hey, Koemans has gone into the pits, I'm going to dash in, I'm going to block him and come out. I don't want to be running while he's running faster laps. So that's going to be what the drivers are looking at. But the final thing that comes into play, that strategy works great on big tracks, but because the Lime Rock chicane version is such a narrow track and so short that if Koemans or Eklund were to come in early, if they came out, there's no guarantee that they're going to have a clean track in front of them. They're going to run behind somebody like me, a well-meaning back marker that's trying to get out of the way but slowing them down. So you viewers at home that aren't used to the pit strategy, I want to give you something to watch for, that you can see that there's more than just going fast here. There's a lot of chess play involved. There's thinking ahead. There's planning 2-3 laps ahead, several laps ahead. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go along. Sorry to dominate the mic there, Richard, but we have the time. I thought I'd take care of that. Thanks to you. Back to you, Rich.
No problem. Well said there, Bill. Appreciate that. Well, folks, we do have a little time up our sleeve, so we are going to take a really short break, and we shall be back in about a minute and a half to bring you the grid and the start of the race. And welcome back to greenvalleylake.com MX-5 World Tour, folks, where we are going to have a start in a few seconds time. Brad, can you quickly run us through the top 10 on the grid, including the quick six?
Certainly. Number 1 starting out today is Thomas Szabo, followed by number 2. That'll be Amjad Yaman. In 3rd place is Jan Koemans, followed by Richard Eklund in 4th. Sergio Mora's in 5th. Jao Freitas is in 6th. 7th is Jake Tucker. 8th is Tom Rathie. 9th is Trevor Mack, followed by Benjamin Lanowit in 10th.
Okay, guys, and they are starting to rev up the engines right now. There's about 15 seconds or so to the start of this race. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good one. Last season it was crazy. I don't think the season's going to be any different. We've got Tomas Szabo on the pole with MX-5 right behind him, slotting in behind them. Jan Koolmans, look for him to be fast today. Richard Eklund, the usual suspects. The green flag has flown. Tomas Szabo takes off straight away. MX-5 going to the inside, followed by Koolmans, who now goes to the outside. Richard Eklund cuts to the inside. So already people jockeying for position right here. They take turn one, which is seems to continue on forever. Koolmans stays now on the inside for the big bend as they come up to the only left-hander. They've gone through the left-hander. They now go through the big bend down the no-name straight. Still pretty much single file, Brian.
Tomas Szabo takes the lead up the hill here as we come into the chicane for the first time in the race. A lot of people were having issues with this part of the track during practice, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays a factor. Bill was actually mentioning before we came back from break that that's going to be one of those trouble spots that gives you a lot of slowdown penalties, so it's very important that people go single file through there and take their time, make sure they hit their mark so they don't get a penalty. Following Tomas Szabo, we got MX-5, followed by Jan Koolmans in the white car today. He has been running that white car the last couple of races, and it's been doing a lot of good for him because he has been having one stellar performance after another. Tomas Szabo leads through turns 1 and 2 as they go back through the S's. MX-5, Jan Koolmans, and Richard Eklund follow very close behind. They are very aggressive here in the beginning of this race as they all look to try and pass each other. However, there's no room to pass at this point of the race, and they're slowing each other down. Tomas Szabo takes the lead as they come back around to the hill again.
Yep, and just behind that top four there, we've got Sergio Mura, who we have not mentioned yet, as they go into the chicane once again. This is an absolute crazy turn. Do you know, Brian, the cars actually get all four wheels off the ground if you have the right camera view. So I just love watching some of those camera shots of that chicane. It's magnificent shots of these cars as they see them going pretty wide down the front straight there, and jockeying. Richard Eklund trying to find a way through there behind Koolmans. Koolmans trying to find a way past Yaman. Yaman is a little way behind Szabo, so at the moment Szabo leading with a short, maybe 5-car break here. So a lot of fierce action here. But Bill, what are you seeing around further down the pack?
Let's go back to Stefan Morian. He's the friendly Canadian, he's called. Now he's being trailed right now by, we talked about Sam McAleer having a bad starting position. They're running in 15th and 16th spot. McAleer got into the back of Jiren Yursum in the first lap, but it was just a little bump. Everything's fine. Also, I'd like to add in that Mihai Masisen, who had a great starting spot up there near the top 10, lost it on the first lap and put it into the wall. He's back on the track, but it looks like he has damage. Back to you, Rich.
Thanks, Bill. And back to the front now, where we see nothing has changed there, Bill. Brian, sorry?
Yeah, Tomas Szabo is kind of checking out here in the beginning of the race. Obviously, I guess it's too early in the race to make that kind of statement, but MX-5's a little ways back, and with Jan Koolmans and Richard Eklund both fighting so fiercely behind him, it's very hard to get that pace up. This is a very technical track, as I mentioned. If you look at it from the overhead view, it doesn't look like much, but there is a lot of elevation changes and tricky corners that can really throw you off. So it's important to make sure you're hitting your marks as we watch Tomas Szabo come up into the chicane once again. Very tricky part of the track. You'll notice that if they go too far to the left up the hill, they'll actually go and do a two-wheel kind of wheelie on the one side of their cars. Very important they don't roll the car there.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Tomas Szabo, I do know this is one of his favorite tracks in terms of speed, so I expect him to be fast here. We did see Koolmans challenging MX-5 on that last lap. They're trying to get into second place. He was unsuccessful. Richard Eklund just behind Koolmans, keeping a bit of a watching brief there, and just a little further back, but now catching up to them, Brian. We've got Sergio Mura, so I'm expecting him to possibly feature in the podium a little later on. Now, Bill, we spoke about the pit strategy. Can you tell us what the pit window is for this race?
Yeah, I think it's going to be somewhere between lap 14 and 29 of the 43 laps that they need to complete. So it's going to be interesting. Passing is going to be really, really hard. So if Koemans can't get by those leaders, look for him to duck in early, around 14 or 15. GL, let's go back and take a quick look at Brad Wooden back in the 12th spot right now. He's in a battle for 12th. Now, we talked that he had a bad starting spot. He started in 14th. Right now, he's in a battle with Kim Vader, who just won in the dirt there a little bit. Kim Vader's in that red car, kind of looks like the I think it's the red. What would that be? The Danish flag, I think his car looks like there. And then up ahead of them is Ben Tucker. He's running in 7th. He's in that what does he run? I think the subway car. And there comes Wooden in right behind him. And right ahead of him is Trevor Mack, obviously, in the Big Mac car. So there's a nice battle going on there for 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. Let's go back to the front with you, Rich.
Yeah, just on Brad Wooden, he overtook Kim Vader as if Kim was standing still. He's now got Ben Tucker in his sights. He gets a bit loose coming out of the chicane there, does Brad Wooden, but the Ben Tucker obviously got a slow down penalty there because he immediately applied the brakes, and Brad Wooden makes up another spot. The next one he'll be looking at is Trevor Mack. So that is a good battle going on. We'll keep an eye on that one, or do keep an eye on that one for us, Bill. Meanwhile, Brad will come, Brian, for goodness sake, will come back to you for seeing what's going on at the front.
Actually, I wanted to add in about Ben Tucker. When you guys were following the battle with, I believe it was Kim Vader and Brad Wooden, I saw Ben Tucker going on pit road. I don't know if he got any damage or if maybe he got pushed in there by someone else, but needless to say, he is a lap down, and it appeared he was in 7th or 8th place because of where he came out of the pits, but he actually is slowing down to let people on the lead lap by. So we don't know what the story with Ben Tucker is, but he did pit very early, and I would suspect something's amiss with him.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we just saw him give that spot up pretty easily there to Brad Wooden as well. So we will keep an eye on that. I got to keep away from Brad because I keep calling you Brad. So I'll stick with the front block, and I'm glad Brad is not in the front. Damar Zabo leading this race, Brian, leading it well at this point in time. Amjad Yaman still in second. Jan Koemans has tried everything, but he has not been able to make any impression on. As we see, Eklund had a look on the inside there, but couldn't make anything work. This is a very, very narrow track, and look out, here comes João Freitas. João Freitas on Sergio Moura, Brian.
Yeah, it looks like João Freitas is going to try and make a move up the inside coming into the chicane, but he thinks better of it and holds back, as we also have another car coming into the mix. I don't know who that is from this angle. Tucker. And it's Jake Tucker. All right, so we got Jake Tucker in the mix as we have Sergio Moura, João Freitas, and Jake Tucker coming down the hill. Now, for those who haven't been to Lime Rock or don't know what Lime Rock's all about, that hill will make or break a lap time. If you can go full out through there and hit your marks, you can do the whole corner without slowing down, and that will gain you almost 4 or 5 tenths of a second, assuming that you're in the draft and everything's going well. So that's cool to see 3 cars doing that and not letting up on each other, and still being able to have a clean race coming back around in the turns 1 and 2, Richard.
Yeah, that's true. So what you said there is absolutely true on the normal Lime Rock track without the chicane. With the chicane, you are going to have to slow down a fair bit coming up the hill there, because you have to immediately turn right into the chicane. So it does change things up a little bit. But these guys don't slow down for anything here, Brian. They just keep going flat out. They only know one speed, these guys, flat out.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about the MX-5, especially in this kind of environment where everyone's so proficient in it. You could really throw it around, and it'll be a little agile little trooper for you. So, and that's why we get so many of these great MX-5 races in this series, is these guys know what they're doing, and they love their car, and they really know how to just sling it around. As we watch João Freitas go 1-2, and he spins. He has contact with Sergio Moura, and João Freitas hits Moura, and they both spin off in the track in turn 2 as a bunch of cars, Jake Tucker, Trevor Mack, and a few other cars get by there. But Brad Wooden got a position over Moura. That is going to be something worth reviewing as we go back, Richard, to the replay.
Yeah, we are looking at the replay right now. You know, this has happened before. Freitas has got turned on this track at least once or twice from memory in both the races we've had here in the past 2 seasons. Isn't that right, Bill?
Yeah, now I'm watching him. His car doesn't look too damaged, but the 2 Portuguese drivers got together. They're 1-2 in the standings, and they were 1-2 when it came to hitting each other there. Freitas seems to be up to speed, and so does Mora. Now, Mora didn't have the pace. Jake Tucker was right behind Freitas and Mora, so, Freitas got a little
more
impatient
action up ahead of Mora there, guys. As we saw Brad Wooten get really wide and loose, but he is making up positions hand over fist there, Brian. He's now on the back of who is that? That is Trevor Mack, who's now behind Simon Van Duyn. So these guys are moving up. Freitas has lost a bunch of spots, of course, to these guys, and look out for some of the other lesser known guys in this series. When I say lesser known, I mean in terms of winning races or getting up near the front, like Jake Tucker and Tom Rathie. I happen to know that Tom Rathie loves this track. He's very fast here. Another thing that you should keep in mind, folks, is that the track being so short, you're not going to see a large difference in the times between the top guys and the guys a little way further back. So this track evens out the competition a little bit. So expect to see guys like Jake and Tom up near the front there. Brian?
Yeah.
Brian, hang on. Let me interrupt for a second. I want to talk about Tom Rathie since Richard was talking about it. Tom actually is a real-world instructor on this track. I think he has a BMW that he races here, and he's an actual instructor for new drivers. So it's nice to see him. He's very familiar with this track. He doesn't like the chicane very much, but yeah, he knows this in the sim world and in the real world. Back to you, Brian.
Yeah, Giancarlo, we're coming up to the beginning of the lap here, lap 12, I believe, or lap 13. Let's go on board with Amjad Yaman. It looks like Richard Eklund took second place from him. Let's do a lap around the inside of the car just to get kind of a sense of what's going on during racing situations, apart from the lap guide we did earlier today. So here's a lap under racing conditions, Richard.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are in the car here with Amjad Yaman as they go around turn 1. They will now take the left-hander. Amjad Yaman is now behind Richard Eklund, of course, who's behind Sabo. We have a spinning car there. I believe that was Morien. Amjad Yaman now behind Richard Eklund. Makes up some time on Richard, who's making up time on Zabo as well. And now they take the right-hander up the hill, getting ready for the chicane. Watch the car bounces the chicane, and we have another accident. Tamar Zabo got loose there. He has caused all kinds of problems there, Brian.
Yeah, it looks like I didn't see what caused Thomas Zabo to spin, but it looked like he got a little sideways coming out of the chicane, which is very easy to do. I saw Jan Koemans kind of get around Amjad Yaman from inside Yaman's car, but I don't know if he backed off or what happened. So it looks like Richard Eklund is now the race leader, followed by Amjad Yaman in second, and I believe Jan Koemans, if he filed back, will be in third. That was not what I was anticipating when I invited us to go around the track inside of Amjad Yaman's car, but yeah, as you saw, there's a lot of chaos on the track. It's very easy to spin out and lose control of the cars. We saw a couple of spins and even in a wreck right in front of our driver here. So again, this track is very crazy, and at times it can take you by surprise, even though on paper it really doesn't look like that much of a challenge.
Yeah, well, I think Tamar Zabo just got loose. I think it was coming out of the chicane possibly, as we see another car not even bothering to take the chicane, go straight ahead, so that car will get a slow down penalty. Who is that? That was Ursum, Jeroen Ursum, who decides that the chicane is too hard there, Bill. He'll just go straight ahead.
Well, he had the leaders were coming behind him, so he said, I'm going to get out of here. What's interesting about Jeroen Ursum is he made a point for me to tell everybody, though he's driving a pink Barbie car, he is in fact a father, and he drives that for his 6-year-old daughter. So there's a little personal inside story for you. And Koemans has now taken over second place. So we have Eklund, Koemans, and Yaman running 1, 2, 3, followed by Zabo in fourth, and Tucker. Nice run for Jake Tucker in fifth. And look who's made his way back up. Yao Freitas now 6th place, right just about where he was before the spin that he had with his country mate Sergio Mora. Back to you, Rich.
Yeah, and it looks like Sergio Mora has lost out a little bit because in 7th place we have none other than Tom Rathie. As Tom Rathie we're looking at right now. They go through the chicane once again. I've been looking at Freitas' car. Freitas' car seems to be okay there, Bill, but the same cannot be said for Tomas Zabo. If you look at Tomas Zabo's car, he's got damage on the left side. Doesn't seem to be, worrying him that much because he's still got speed, but he has fallen back a little bit from the top 3. And that top 3, Brian, is still the same, even though Eklund has now taken over, but they're still pretty close and racing hard.
Yeah, Eklund has been doing his usual game strategy, race hard and don't let up ever. But Jan Koemans is coming up behind him pretty hard. And Amjad Yaman, although he just went wide, is still showing a lot of pace. So again, just like last week at Zolder, we are seeing a lot of battlings early on in the race, and that is what is making this this series so exciting. As we see Richard Eklund getting some errors, he came through the chicane a little too narrow. He almost went 4 wheels off. And again, just showing how fast they go through that section of the track. Normally, the average iRacing driver might slow down a little bit there, but as Bill said, Richard Eklund has one speed. It's go as hard as you can, and he goes airborne coming through the chicane as we go back around to the start-finish line into turns 1 and 2. Richard, we got Jan Koemans. He looks on the inside. I don't think he's going to make the move, though. Richard, let's go back to you.
Yeah, that was pretty brave there. Tried to make a move on Eklund, but Eklund was having none of it and just kept doing what he was doing. And Jan Koemans had to just fall back. Looked a bit dicey, but I'm sure pretty much these guys know what they're doing. I think, Brian, that at the moment, Amjad Yaman is struggling slightly to keep up with Koemans. Mind you, that he is very good through the chicane here. I've been noticing that he makes up a little time on these guys. As we see Koemans going to the inside, through the right-hander, side by side with Eklund right now. Yaman coming up behind them. This is going down into the downhill section. Richard Eklund hanging on to that position. They go in side by side. Are they going to make it 3 wide? 3 wide going down the front straight, Brian?
Yeah, we're going 3 wide down the front straight. This will be interesting going into turn 1 and 2. Right now, officially, it looks like Amjad Yaman has the lead, but it looks like Jan Koemans is going to go down the inside. He gets a little bit of curb as he holds on to that inside line somehow. Richard Eklund is on the outside as he tries to hold on to that position. He is going to be set up on the inside, coming back to the left-hander as he tries to peer down on Amjad Yaman, who is holding on to the lead just barely as they make it through the S section of the track. Also joining in the battle, we have Tomas Zabo, and I believe it was Jeroen Yersum, and then also joining the train, we got Yao Freitas. So it looks like the top 7 drivers in this race has caught back up, and we are about to have a tangle line going through the chicane as we see a Formula 1-S kind of racing through here as they all jump up and down on that chicane, coming down around the last couple of corners here, Richard, back to the start-finish line. We have a long train of cars going for this position.
I tell you what, that was some fantastic racing. We had Eklund and Koemans battling with each other as we see Koemans going into the pits. Koemans going into the pits. This is the strategy we were talking about earlier, Bill, but we'll get back to that in a minute. And whilst Koemans and Eklund were battling, along comes Yaman and cut straight through the middle and took over first position. So at the moment, Amjad Yaman back in control of this race. And I tell you what, that was really, really good racing. But Bill, what are you seeing at the moment?
Okay, Koemans is out of the pits now. That move by Yaman's not only coming down the middle and spreading the needle, but then he held the outside position on Koemans through this that sweeping turn 1 and 2. That was some very impressive driving. Now, Koemans is out of the pits. He's in traffic, though, so I'm not sure he's going to be able to make up much time. Let's see if the leaders try to counter and pit as well.
I just want to make a point. Oh, go ahead, Richard.
No, you go ahead, my friend.
I just wanted to make the point that if you get stuck on the outside in 1 and 2, it's not necessarily a death sentence for that position, because the following turn is... Oh, I want to break that thought there. We have 4 cars coming to the pits. We got Amjad Yaman, Richard Eklund, Tomas Zabo, and Yao Freitas. All of them are looking to take a chance on pit road and see who comes out the fastest, Richard.
Yeah, I just saw that happening. They're all in the pits right now, getting their fuel. And I tell you what, the strategy is playing out pretty quick here. We're on lap 20, I believe, of a 44 or 43 laps. So they're about halfway in. So
here comes Koeman's down
ahead.
the front straight, and now he's going to come right out in between. He splits Yamans and Eklund as they come out of the pits. So when the pit is all done, Amjad Yaman, the doctor, is held over his virtual lead with Koeman's in second and Eklund's in third there. Sorry, Richard.
That is okay, no problem. So yeah, things will be a little mixed up right now, but we were talking about these pit stops. They're on lap 20, I believe, yes, and what that means is they were just a little way short of the halfway mark when some of the major players made their pit stops. So we are having, at this moment, we've got Jake Tucker in the lead of this race with Tom Rathie in second place, but of course they have not made their pit stops as yet. Looking at Tom Rathie, he's just behind, who is that, Benjamin Lanouette. Benjamin is about to be left by the looks of it. So a few of the faces that we don't normally see up the front, currently at the front, and that will of course change, Brian, once these guys go into the pits.
Yep, so for those who did not hear, it's Jake Tucker in first, Tom Rathie in second, Brad Wooden in third, Van Doon in fourth, and Amjad Yaman, who is virtually holding on to one of the front positions, is in fifth. As we see Jan Koemans and Richard Eklund get really busy right behind that yellow car. I didn't see who the driver was. It looks kind of like McAleer. No, that's not McAleer's car.
Jonathan Keir.
Jonathan Keir. Yes, that is right, Richard. Jonathan Keir. Anyways, all of them get through safely. Now Yao Freitas has the task to get past Jonathan Keir as Richard Eklund comes back and tries to make up that time he lost just temporarily on Jan Koemans. Richard Eklund today, Richard, has had an amazing pace. I am surprised he's back as far as he is, but nonetheless, I mean, with the quality of drivers, I guess it really shouldn't be that much of a surprise. He is having a great race, Richard.
Yeah, in fact, Brian, all three of the front runners, Yaman, Koemans, and Eklund, they have shown tremendous pace, and they have shown just the most unbelievable skill in going through some of these corners. Those were the very three that went three wide up the front straight. Most drivers would be not only hesitant, they wouldn't dare do that. These guys just do it with impunity. They are some of the best drivers you will see in an MX-5, so it does not surprise me. Watch them go through the chicane once again. 1, 2, 3, Amjad Yaman, Jan Koemans, Richard Eklund. Just a pleasure to watch these guys, Brian.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to my point that I had before everyone went in the pits. I think Amjad Yaman kind of planned that three-wide situation. Well, maybe not going three wide, but going into turn 1 on the outside, because if you go around 1 and 2 on the outside, you're set up for turn 3 to be on the inside, and the way that turn 3 is set up, it kind of funnels back to the left, so that would give Amjad Yaman the advantage there as we watch Jan Koemans try to make the same move that Richard Eklund tried. As we'll see right here, is Amjad Yaman will hold the inside line, and he'll be set up favorably to hold on to that position as they come back around and get ready for the SS section of the track. Now, if you're thinking about that ahead of time, you might be thinking, yeah, maybe if I'm on the outside 1 and 2, that's not so bad. I can hold on to my position because they're going to get funneled in right behind me if they go wide on the next couple of turns. So there is a little bit of strategy and future planning in this kind of race. So to track like Lime Rock, Richard, where things can go poorly for you, or they can go very well for you if you plan it right.
Well, that's absolutely right. You know, and even though they're running at a frantic pace, these guys are thinking lap by lap as they go around, thinking, what can I do to get past? How can I hold on to my position? Richard Eklund at the moment holding a kind of watching brief just behind the top two. There we see Jan Koemans go to the inside once again into turn 1. Is he going to make it this time? I think he's going to make it. Yaman holding on to the outside. Now he's got the inside and he turns.
Koemans spins. He's sideways going across the track. Jan Koemans just spun out and he went sideways across the track into traffic. I don't know if anyone collected because I was locked on to Richard Eklund. I did not see what caused it. It just looked like he lost control coming out of that tricky bit. And 1 and 2, Richard, we'll have a replay here in a second. Yeah, but all I saw was Richard Eklund was racing him pretty hard, and next thing you know, Koemans is going sideways. So, Richard, what did you see on the replay screen?
Yeah, I'll tell you what happened there. He went side by side with Yaman to try and make an overtaking move, and they actually made contact, as you will see in the replay, and that is what turned Koemans around. He's got it all to do now to get back up to the front. So that was a little bit of contact that caused that there, as we saw in the replay. But at the moment, I am not quite sure what's going on. So I'll go to Bill. Bill, what is happening around the mid-pack?
GL, we're going to forget the mid-pack. Well, we'll talk about some mid-packers that we talk about, but let's go up to Jake Tucker running in first place. He's in that pink Pepto-Bismol M&M car, and he's followed right behind by Tom Rathie. Now, these guys have yet to pit. Tucker has a 24-second lead, if I'm reading this right. Yeah, I think I am. I expect once they come into pit that it's about 28 seconds back to Eklund. So look for him to, that's really your leader is Eklund, and Freitas has now got past Yaman. So yeah, Freitas manages to do it every week. He gets in trouble, and now he's going to be running second once we get Tucker and Rathie in the pits. Let me go back to you, Richard.
Okay, thanks for that, Bill. Yeah, it looks like the loser out of all of that, there was, well, two losers really. Yaman and Koemans lost out because of their touch. But it just goes to show, Brian, these guys do not mind going side by side, even on this extremely narrow track. I'm just flabbergasted at the pace these guys show week in and week out at all the tracks we visit. These are very, very skilled drivers.
Yeah, I bet if I tried to run these times, I wouldn't make it around the hill because the MX-5 is definitely a niche car. It's not a car a lot of people drive because it doesn't have the fancy tires or the anti-brake systems or anything like that. It's strictly an MX-5 with a roll cage and a smaller tank, and the situation that the league brings on. So it really is a driver's car, and that just shows the quality of the drivers that come to race every week, especially after last week at Zolder. We had so many battles and different storylines play out, and today now we're looking at Richard Eklund just powering on ahead way down the road from Freitas, and we haven't seen Eklund have a lead like this in a long time. So yeah, the story always changes, but the racing is always great here at the Green Valley Lakes MX-5 World Tour, Richard.
Yeah, and guys, I believe that Amjad Yaman is hurting a little bit after that contact with Koemans, because he's fallen back. Koemans just blew by him through the chicane. He made a big mistake and went really wide. He must have got a slowdown from that. Now he's just been overtaken by Tamás Szabo, and he's falling back. So really, after the pit stops are done, you are going to see Eklund in the lead, followed by Freitas. Jan Koemans still in third place. Amjad Yaman was in fourth place, but now Tamás Szabo just streaks away from Yaman right there. So I think he is definitely hurting Brian, and he's going to be falling into the clutches of some of the other drivers behind him very soon by the looks of it.
It's never easy to have an incident such as a car spinning in front of you. It's not easy to come back from it, especially if you made contact or you lost a lot of time, because there's so many things going through your head, frustration, anger, disappointment, and it's really easy to lose focus on the task at hand, which is running consistent laps, hitting your marks, rebounding from the mistake. And I don't think that's the case for Jan Koemans or Amjad Yaman. I think both of them are very capable and in control of their thought processes, but they did lose a lot of time, and that's going to hurt them because a lot of people already made their pit stops. However, with that being said, it looks like there is a little bit of a gap between João Freitas and Jan Koemans and the cars in front of them, so there is some space on the road there to make up some time with some open space, and maybe if they get things under control, we'll see another battle break out here before the end of the race.
I think so. Koemans is coming up fast on Freitas, and remember these two. Koemans straight into the attack there, Brian. He's right on the back now of Freitas, so his car is definitely still strong. Even though he was turned around, he is technically still in third place behind Freitas and Eklund. Jake Tucker is still in first place. Tom Rathy must have gone into the pits because he's no longer showing in second place. But the big battle, I believe, is going to be right here between Koolmans and Freitas, and that is for the second place. It looks like Richard Eklund, Brian, has kind of got a bit of a break on these guys.
Yes, certainly, and this is a very exciting race. Right now, I'm looking at Jan Koolmans and Yao Freitas as they both come through the final turn here.
The leader has pitted, so coming out, Jake Tever coming out of the pits, so we have Eklund now assuming the lead.
Good stuff. All right, so now things will reset as we see this battle. Brian, continue with this battle here between Freitas and Koolmans, because once again it's fierce, and it looks to me like they may well be catching up to Richard Eklund, who maybe will have some problems with traffic very soon, and it's not easy to pass here, as we've mentioned on a couple of occasions. So they may well still catch up to Eklund, but at the moment Freitas and Koolmans, this is where the battle is.
Yeah, right now it's very cool to watch these guys go through this chicane. You know what, Richard? I can't even actually remember since I've been on iRacing ever raced the chicane layout. So this is new to me. I never even realized where the chicane was until about maybe 45 minutes ago. So it's very cool to just watch these cars power through there. If you can think about how hard it is to power up that hill, it's kind of a blind corner already. But then you're going to go ahead and throw a chicane into the mix. That's just makes for an exciting lap time. As we see Jan Koolmans, he takes the position over Yao Freitas temporarily. We'll see if he can hold on. He drifts out wide, he blacks off Yao Freitas, so he's going to take over that position. It looks like now our second place contender is Jan Koolmans, followed by third place Yao Freitas. Richard?
Absolutely. That was a good, calmly thought out move by Jan Koolmans. He just pounced at the right moment and took the place. At that point, of course, Yao Freitas didn't offer much of a, he didn't offer any resistance at that point in time, but he will have another chance because Koolmans now is coming up to some slower traffic. Stefan Morien right in front of him. Eklund has managed to pass Morien, so that puts Morien, who's no slouch at this track himself, by the way, he's put him between himself and Yaman, as we see guys coming out of the pits. That's going to cause another bit of a mix-up, I should say, because now the leaders have to pass a whole bunch of cars, Brian. They are right in amongst the traffic right now.
Yeah, certainly. This is what I was kind of fearing. You got a lot of backmarker tracks. So we see Jan Koolmans almost rear-end someone there, and it just shows. Yeah, and we have a car up in the grass up to the side, so you kind of get an appreciation for how busy this track can get. I didn't see who it was. I don't think it was Brad Wooden, but the car did look pretty similar. Maybe I guess someone can go back and look. But I do believe Bill Zahn in the race notes had some information about Tom Rathy you'd like to share. So let's go to Bill, and while I investigate the incident out in the grass.
Yeah, after his pit stop, Tom Rathy's having a real nice race. Right now he's running in sixth. He slotted out just ahead of Thomas Szabo. Szabo got by him, so Rathy's now running in sixth place. That's nice for him. In seventh place is Mack, and Amjad Yaman has fallen back to eighth. So we have a nice little battle going on back there. We'll see how things work out here at the race goes on.
Alrighty. Well, at the moment, it looks to me, Brian, that Jake Tucker still has not pitted because he is still showing in first place. I had to double check to see whether I'm actually watching live action here, and I am. Jake Tucker's still there, but he must pit at some point in time. He cannot make the whole race on that.
He's right ahead
on this fuel. Bill?
Richard, he's right ahead right now. I saw him go into the pits. He must have really had an incredible pit stop. He's in the lead. He is a second ahead of Richard Eklund. So he managed to do that pit stop and come out.
Well, Bill, that might be a very good
as
point.
We see Stefan Morien going off in the chicane there. So you are telling me that Jake Tucker is genuine in the lead of this race, Bill?
Yes, but I don't believe it because he wasn't running that fast of laps when he was in front. So, I mean, yes, I believe he's in front. I don't think he has enough fuel to get to the end.
Well,
all right. Well, let's adjust our thinking here, Brian. So Jake Tucker in the lead at this point in time. Jake Tucker's a very good driver, by the way, but he has got Richard Eklund, who is somebody else once again. I mean, Jake Tucker's good. Richard Eklund is something else. So He is now on the back of Jake Tucker, and now being also followed by Jan Koemans. Brian, this is a little bit of a change up, but it's going to make for some exciting last laps.
Yeah, Yao Freitas is having a great race, and Jan Koemans is giving him all he got after that spin. I wonder if he even knows that that Mora and Freitas banged doors earlier. So I don't think Freitas is going to be that aggressive, just out of fear that he might do something to hurt his car even more. So with that being said, Koemans is being awfully aggressive all through the race. You've seen him drop tires off and kick up, kick up dirt and just take every inch of road he can. And that's what's keeping him up in the battle, as he can try to catch up with Richard Eklund, who's being held up a little bit by Jake Tucker. It looks like once Richard gets there, it's very hard to pass at this track, as you see how complex and narrow it is, and even how short it is. My thought was Jake Tucker might have gotten a chance to come out in front of everybody because of the amount of back markers and traffic that was in play. And you notice for a while there, a lot of those lead cars were getting held up. So I wonder if Jake Tucker was able to find an open spot and just get a little bit of a lead due to the traffic factor.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out a little bit after the race as well. But certainly Jake Tucker is leading the race. He must have done a really short fuel stop, almost taken only a few fumes. But Richard Eklund is slowly but surely catching up to him. He's going to come up to slower traffic in a little while. So bear in mind, we are now on lap number 36 or 43, was it, Bill? And there's not that many laps left, as we see Eklund now almost right on the bumper of Jake Tucker. Jake Tucker's going to have a battle on his hands trying to keep Eklund out, and he's got a slower car in front of him, which is Jonathan Keir. Jonathan Keir always pops up as the perennial back marker there, Bill.
Yeah, he's in the back, and we'll see if we can get him covered in the upcoming back marker salute,
which we'll have to get done pretty soon because the laps are running out. We'll go back to the front with you, Brian.
Yeah, I was watching Yao Freitas. He was making looking a little inside, going up the hill into the chicane, and he cut that very narrow. He jumped up off all four of his tires. So it is true. Richard at the beginning of the race said you can't jump all the way off the road here, and I just saw Yao Freitas do it. So very talented driving from Yao Freitas, but it looks like Jan Koemans got the best of him coming out of the final turn of this track, so he gets held up a little bit by Jonathan Keir, but he had a good run going. Unfortunately, the traffic factor is holding up a lot of people, and that is what is keeping a lot of these battles alive right now, Richard.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys, watch how they line up the back marker. Jan Koemans just flipped to the inside there and overtook him. Freitas just followed suit, as Jonathan Keir, aware of these guys coming up, did apply some brakes to allow these two to pass. So smart driving there from Jonathan Keir. So Jake Tucker still in the lead of this race, and well, Bill, are you ready for the back marker salute as yet?
Let's do it, and interrupt me as soon as Eklund gets by Jake Tucker, which I'm sure is going to happen. I've started the clock. We're going to start with Craig McKenzie running in 30th position in the Stars and Stripes Old Glory machine. That's a nice run for him. One spot up in 19th is Sky Willis. She's having a pretty good race, very calm, very quiet, running in 19th, not a lot of trouble. One spot up ahead of him in the Subways car is Ben Tucker. I'm not sure of the relationship with our leader, Jake Tucker. I'm going to look into that one. Let's go one more spot ahead, and that's another pink car. We talked about him before. He's the father of the 6-year-old daughter, Jurin Yursum. I'm getting better every week on that one. One more spot ahead of him in the Turn 2 Motorsports car, there is Stefan Morian. Heinrich Lorenz is running in that yellow and blue machine in 15th position. And then, of course, we talked about Jonathan Kerr in 14th. He's the Roadster loyalist. And real quickly, I haven't talked about him all day, so we'll get all the way up to Duljan Boldrin, our only South American driver in the 880 car, that red and gray car. He's in a nice little battle right now with those three drivers, and Eklund and the leaders get right around him. So as I bring you up to the leaders, we can go one ahead of them and see that Eklund has taken over the lead. So how about that? A back marker review that takes you right into a pass for the lead. Back to you, Rich.
Thank you.
Wow.
And please note that segment is sponsored by Eagle Nest Tavern in Green Valley Lake. Well, Brian, we thought it might happen. Richard Eklund has challenged and taken over the lead from Jake Tucker. Behind them, it's now going to be Koolmans. Let's see what happens. Can Tucker hold out Koolmans?
You know, I really don't think Tucker has the pace, like Bill said, to hold on to the top couple of positions, but you got to give him a lot of credit today. He's put on a really good show, and actually, just as Bill was cutting off of the 60-second backmarker salute, we saw Jake Tucker go almost all the way into the grass to get behind that backmarker and try to make a run off to the outside of turn 1 and 2. He made it through safely, and Richard took the right side lane. Unfortunately, because he took so much grass, that is what gave Eklund the amount of speed needed to get around him in turns 1 and 2. So Richard Eklund in the lead, followed by Jake Tucker very close behind. He is showing a great pace today, and we got to give him lots of credit because I think this is one of the best races we've seen Jake run all season long.
Absolutely. I don't think I've ever seen him in the second place position, a genuine second place fighting for, and bear in mind, he led quite a few laps as these guys. Now, guys, I am seeing Jan Koolmans getting really loose a couple of times. He got loose coming out of the final turn, going onto the front stretch, and he got a little bit loose there coming up the hill as well. So, not sure what's happening there, but you know, the skill of the man is just unbelievable. He holds the car on the track, and now he's right on the back bumper of Jake Tucker, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him making a move right now into turn 1. He's right behind him. He goes to the Jake Tucker threatened to go to the inside, kind of feinted, but didn't make it happen. Jake Tucker fighting on the outside. He'll have the inside for the only left-hand turn on this course. Koolmans tried to make that move stick but couldn't. Great driving from Jake Tucker there, Brian.
Yeah, he did exactly what I was talking about earlier in the race. He set up on the outside, so we can have the inside in turn 3. Like you said, it's the only left-hand turn in the track, and like I said, it's unique because the outside lane coming out of 3 kind of funnels back in, so whoever's on the left side or the inner line of that turn has the advantage going into the S's section. So Jake Tucker's going to hold on to second place just a little bit longer. It looks like Jan Koolmans going to try and set up for a good run coming out of the final corner here into the start-finish line, as he has very often shown how fast he is in the drafting situation like this, especially coming up a hill. You get a monster run coming through here. Like I said, you can gain up to 4 to 5 tenths on the regular version of this track. We see Jan Koolmans, he goes on the inside, takes a little curve, and he bobbles. It looks like he got Jake Tucker. He got a little bit of a touch. Yal Freitas comes through. Jake Tucker is not going to be happy about that. He loses 2 positions in turn 2, Richard. Wow, what a strange turn of events there, Rich.
Yeah, there was a touch between Koolmans and Jake Tucker. Jake Tucker, like you said, probably won't be happy with it, but I don't think there was much that can be said. It was just a racing incident. They were battling hard. As we see a car right off the track there. Who was that, Bill? I didn't catch that one.
Craig McKenzie, I believe it was Craig McKenzie.
The Stars and Stripes Old Glory car went into the wall very hard.
All right, so going up the hill, we had a car really loose. We're going to see a replay of that. Craig McKenzie in the Stars and Stripes car comes up towards the uphill section and completely loses it. Does he lose it? I didn't see the actual incident, so we're watching the replay right now.
Yeah. Richard Eklund went on the outside of him, or the inside of him rather, and I think Craig just lost focus where he was on the track. He saw the tire wall coming, so he's trying to slow up. Unfortunately, he dropped a couple tires off, and he turned science.
We are back live again. That was a hard hit, so that's going to put paid to any chances that he might have had. So a very, very hard hit there. Back to the front, Brian. Richard Eklund still leading this race. Jan Koolmans coming up the hill right now. Richard Eklund just going through the chicane, so not that much difference between them. Jan Koolmans has made up a lot of time on Richard Eklund, or Richard Eklund has slowed down. Something has happened, but they're pretty close now on lap 43. Not much time left in this race.
This is it right here.
We're crossing the line. Richard Eklund takes the lead, he wins the race, followed by Jan Koolmans. Yal Freitas will take third. Jake Tucker, as unlucky as he was in the last couple laps, he'll take fourth. Thomas Zabo takes fifth, and Bill, who comes in sixth, seventh, and eighth.
It looks okay. But it looks like Rathi's going to get his sixth place finish there, and Amjad Yama's going to get seventh. Let's go back to Richard.
Yeah, well, you know, the end of that race completely took me by surprise there, guys. I do apologize. I was concentrating so hard on what was happening to that accident that we'd just been calling previously that I lost track of it. But as the guys told you, Richard Eklund did come in first place. They're all doing their celebration moves at the moment. Jan Koeman's got a good second place, which means that'll be good for him in the championship. Big loser out of all of that was Amjad Yaman, coming in seventh place. Not a bad spot, but in this sort of company, Brian, seventh place is not good enough.
If I'm Jake Tucker right now, I'm going to be very happy with how I finished today. Even if it wasn't the result he wanted, he put in a good effort, and he was hanging out there with the top dogs in this series, Richard Eklund, Jan Koeman, João Freitas. So congratulations to Jake Tucker. Unfortunately, Richard, we are running out of time, so we're going to go to break, and then we'll come back and go over the standings and some interviews.
Welcome back to the Green Valley Lake MX-5 World Tour, folks. We just saw another fantastic race won by Richard Eklund. I have to say, guys, this is just fantastic racing. Let's go through the standings, Brian. Let's grab the first 10.
Yeah, Richard. Richard and Richard. Winning the race today, we got Richard Eklund. Bill told me right, it was his third career win with this series, so congratulations, Richard, for a job well done. Coming in second was Jan Koemans, followed by Jal Freitas in third. Tom Mazzavo came in fourth. Tom Rathie, the Lime Rock aficionado here, was a fifth place win or finisher. Jake Tucker had a great finish today. He comes in sixth, followed by Amjad Yaman in seventh. Trevor Mack had another good top 10 finish. He comes in eighth, followed by Simon Van Doon in ninth and Kim Vitar in 10th. Richard?
Yep, a good finish from Kim there. I think that's his highest finish to date in the series. In 11th place, we had Benjamin Lanouette. In 12th place, Brad Wooten, who by his standards did not have a good race. In 13th place, we had Diljan Boldrin. In 14th, Jonathan Keir. Great finish from Jonathan Keir there. Heinrich Lawrence in 15th place. And in 16th place, Stefan Morien. Over to you, Bill, for the last few.
Sure, you give me the name I have trouble pronouncing. I'm going to get it right on the first try. 17th spot, Jiren Yursum in the pink Barbie car. That's a nice finish for him. He's new to the series. Ben Tucker was 18th. Sky Willis in the top 20 position of 19th. Craig McKenzie rounds out the top 20. Mihai Masisen, who had that early problem, finished 9 laps down. Sergio Mora, our second place point raider, is going to take a big hit in the points. He's going to finish 22nd. George Fike, now that's a bad finish from him. Something must have happened to George. 23rd, usually he's pretty consistent, at least inside the top 20. Sam McAleer, who had that horrible starting position, finished next to last in 24th spot, and rounding out the field from Italy, our veteran Joseph Aro. Back to you, Rich.
Thank you, Bill. All righty, we have some interviews to do. We have a few guys ready for interviews, so we'll bring in Amjad Yaman first, and I will talk to Amjad. Amjad, not your best finish today?
Yeah, I of course was starting up at front. I thought I had a shot today, but those guys behind me, they're just too fast, and I got together with Jan, and that bent my suspension up, and I couldn't hang on after that.
Yeah, I thought you must have had some damage from that contact there, because it slowed you down straight after that, and you still hung in there for 7th place, which is some great driving. But man, you guys are just unbelievable the way that you guys handle those cars, the little MX-5 on this really tricky track. It looks very simple, this track, Amjad, but in fact it's quite difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there's only one part of that track is difficult, that chicane. I mean, if you get it wrong just by one little millimeter, it sends you off in the grass and into the wall. So you have to really tiptoe your way through that section.
Yeah, Amjad. Well, look, this won't harm your championship chances too much, although it will set you back a little bit. But a great finish and a great race from all of you guys, and congratulations on your 7th place.
All right, thank you.
Alrighty, so now we'll move on to Bill, who's going to have a chat with Jan Koemans.
Jan Koemans, a nice 2nd place finish for you. Boy, you were all over the place. You never quite got up to the lead. You took an early pit stop, then you had trouble. Do you think you had a shot to get to the lead after your pit stop?
Hi, Bill. Yeah, well, it was very close. I knew if I could just get in front once, I could probably stay there. But it was really difficult. Fighting really close, and nobody wanted to give much room really. And then we had to avoid accidents and try and lap cars all in the middle. So it was really close, but no cigar once again. But still, I guess 2nd place isn't too bad, considering I got spun around once and had to catch up again. So can't complain.
Yeah, you know, when you talk about can't complaining, Jal Freitas had the same thing. He finished right behind you in 3rd place. He had a spin. From a viewer standpoint, up here in the booth, man, it's exciting to watch. let me ask you this. Do you enjoy racing this track, or do you not enjoy racing this track?
I enjoy racing the track. I just it's so frustrating to not be able to get past anybody. But I mean that's how that's how you get a close race, I guess. And we did have some very nice passes going on, and all things considered, I think it was a very exciting race because I can hardly remember half what happened. So
yeah,
not
that's
too
the
bad.
same with us in the booth. There's so much action, it's hard to remember. That was a really nice pass on Jake Tucker there. You got a little bump on it, but you had nice position. Congratulations on second place. I know you were doubtful for today, but you made it in here. What's your schedule for next week? Are you around?
Who knows, Bill? I'll try.
Okay, give your best to your beautiful girlfriend, and we'll see you next week. Back to you, Richard.
Thank you, Bill, and congratulations to Jan Koemans for second place. Now we are going to talk to the winner of this race, and Brian will talk to Richard.
Hey, Richard, you hear me?
Indeed.
All right, so you had a great race today, coming home with a win, and of course, this is probably not one of the more favorited tracks of the season. So, tell us a little bit about your race today. How did you think you did, and did you have anything in particular that stood out to you?
Well, I don't mind this track at all. I think it's one of my favorites, actually, just minus the chicane. The normal lime rock track, I think, might be my favorite, but the chicane, I'm sure is good for broadcasting, but for racing, it's not so fun. But, no, the race was good. I think, like Jan said, I don't remember much of it, so you have to ask some different questions.
All right, well, we'll try this question on for size. At one point, I think it was on lap 10 or 11, we put the camera on board Amjad Yaman for a lap around this place with the chicane under race conditions, and during that one lap, we saw two cars spin off to the side. Thomas Szabo spun, effectively giving you the lead, and you also made a good pass on Amjad Yaman earlier on in the lap. So a lot of action in one track. I mean, what was it like out there? Was the traffic rough? Did you have to like just wish on something to happen and just time everything right? Like, what was it like out there at Lime Rock today?
Well, I was trying to push as hard as I could without crashing into anybody, so the traffic wasn't too bad. There was a couple times where it slowed me down, but you have to expect that on a track like this. Passing cars is nearly impossible here, so I had that one chance on Amjad. I think he may have had a small mistake coming through the downhill. I had a little bit of a run on him, and I was expecting him to leave me a little more room, but he left just enough for two cars, and luckily I made it work. But there was a bunch of really close racing today between me and Amjad, and also Jan. So it was definitely a very enjoyable race. Just so many things happened. It's tough to remember everything.
Yeah, I hear you there. I mean, like Bill said, there's so much went on during this race. There's a lot that we missed as well, but what we didn't miss was Craig McKenzie spinning out towards the end of the race, and you and a few others just barely making it around him. So congratulations on that, and also congratulations on the win. We know how hard it is to race these cars at a track like this. So again, everybody, our race winner Richard Eklund. I almost said Richard Losper. Richard Eklund for the win today. Congratulations, Richard.
Thanks, Brian.
Well, folks, what a race. That's all I can say. What a race. These guys, I take my hat off to them, and we gotta say it. I mean, they are the best drivers that ever stepped a foot into an MX-5. There's no question about it. So, we want to have one more interview, and I'm going to ask Bill to do this one, and it'll be with Tom Rathie. Go ahead, Bill.
Tom Rathie, hey, congratulations, 5th place. You were in the top 3 for a while. Nice race, my friend.
Yeah, I know. It's it feels good not to be part of the attrition once,
Hey, while I got you here, talk to me. You have, I hope I have this right, you have real life experience on this track, do you not?
I do. I typically drive here a couple times a year. In fact, next weekend I'll miss our race. I'll be instructing on the skid pad, which is inside of turn 6, and the autocross area, which is inside of turn 5 up on the hill.
You know, you were in a, you know that Jake Tucker had the lead there for a while. He really had a short pit stop there. In fact, he ran out of gas on the last lap that cost him 6th place, but it was a nice race from you and Jake.
Yeah, I was behind Jake, and I was thinking of pushing it all the way to like 30 laps, which was what a tank could give you. But Jake, I ended up taking one of my, I think I had 2 cut penalties at the chicane, and I took one, and we were starting to hit a little traffic, and I said, let me just jump in the pit. So then, Jake just kept going, and he was nailing it. Consistent, right?
Yeah, he had a nice, even when he was in front, he was giving Richard Ecklund all he wanted for. Hey, it's great to see the welcome in car up in the top 5. I'm sure the sponsors will be happy with that, and we all know that's important in racing. So congratulations, Tom.
Thanks, Bill.
Back to you, Rich.
Okay. Well, thank you, Bill, and thank you also to our good friend Tom Rathy, who has had a great finish today. Well, folks, we come to the end of the broadcast, but before we give out the thank yous, I just want to get your thoughts, guys, on this race. Brian, what did you think?
Every week we have this bit where we pick who we think's gonna win based on whatever our gut feeling is today. And coming into this race and looking at the warm-up times and the qualifying times, I really had no idea who was gonna win this race. So congratulations to Richard. That was a great job. He was lucky enough to avoid the spins that happened on the track, and just the overall traffic management was good from him. Unfortunately, Amjad Yaman had some bad luck today. It's part of racing, but overall, I think it was a pretty good race, and it's what we've come to expect from this series. Great job for Bill making this wonderful schedule for us to get these awesome races back to back to back.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And Bill, what did you think of this race? I'll get to my thoughts in a minute, but what did you think?
One of my favorite movies is Snatched. If you guys ever get a chance to watch Snatched, go ahead and watch it. And the character in that movie there's a character called Boris the Bullet Dodger, and it reminds me of Yao Freitas. You just cannot kill this guy. He spins, and somehow his country mate Sergio Mora has trouble. He finishes in 22nd position, but not our season 7 champion, Yao Freitas. He locks down a 3rd place even with the disaster that goes on. That's how you win a championship. Back to you, Rich.
Yep, and I was going to make mention of one of that very fact. Sergio Mora in 2nd place drops down the championship leaderboard a little bit, no doubt, after this race. Richard Ecklund will certainly move up. Jan Koemans will move up. Getting back to the race, guys, just a fantastic race. I just cannot say enough, and to thank these drivers who come out week after week and give us such wonderful spectacles. So good on everybody. Well, that's it from us today. Most definitely. We are now going to have to close this broadcast. Unfortunate. I think these races should be double the length they are, because there is so much to talk about, so much to watch, and just so much great racing. But unfortunately, things must come to an end. So we do wish to thank a number of people and organizations for bringing the race to us. We thank Cozy Cabins, Eagle Nest Tavern, and the Welcome Inn Bed and Breakfast for their sponsorships in this series. Good on them. We appreciate them greatly. For more information about Green Valley Lake itself, which is called the best kept secret in California's San Bernardino Mountains, please visit www.green-valley-lake.com. Bill, we got to thank you for putting on this great league. I know this is one of the great leagues that we broadcast, and it doesn't disappoint week in, week out. We also thank iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch TV, Audio Technica, and Ava Media for providing us with software and hardware that we use for the broadcasts. Thanks also to the broadcast team. Brian and Bill, you guys do an absolutely fantastic job week in, week out. If you want to find out more about GSRC, our website is globalsimracingchannel.com. There you will find our broadcast schedule along with archived races and race highlights. We are also on Facebook at facebook.com/Global Sim Racing Channel, and on Twitter at GSR Channel. Very special thank you to Eric Ekholm, who provides us with some great music. You can find it not only here on GSRC, but also in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes, and Spotify. If you do like the music, please tell Eric where you heard it at ericekholm.com. Thanks also to Casey Lalonde, who provides us with the music for our highlight videos. You can find more of his music at caseylalonde.bandcamp.com. Now folks, to the upcoming events, they just keep coming. We have the MX-5 World Tour on the 5th of April at 1900 UTC, and that will be at Road Atlanta. That's next weekend. Tomorrow we have the Roof Euro Trophy on the 30th of March, 15th UTC. That will be at Alton Park, I should say, and it'll be our very first broadcast at this particular track. We also have the Piston Cup on the 6th of April. That will be at 1845 UTC at Charlotte Oval. And of course we will have next week as well the Enduro Pro Series, and that will be on April the 12th, and that will be at Sebring International. That's all from us today, folks, and we ask you to race hard but race clean, and we shall see you somewhere on the track.